So, thanks for watching. I thought it'd be quite useful just to quickly run through what I pack when I'm going out in the mountains in winter. So, a number of similarities and a number of differences from summer. And one of the most obvious ones, something I get asked all the time, which is how come everything you need just happens to be where you want it in the rucksack, whereas I'm not having to empty my entire rucksack out? It's because I do a lot of planning when I'm packing. So a number of poignant questions, and this is just as true in winter. What am I going to be doing that day? And that will change whether I'm just going Monroe bagging, am I instructing, or am I going climbing, for example. What is the weather going to be doing? Well, that really is going to change how I pack. So on a really beautifully hot summer's day, might be in the Lake District, not a cloud in the sky all day. Do you know, there are times when I might not even pack waterproofs. Can you believe that, Britain? Whereas there are other times when perhaps the rain's coming in later in the afternoon. It's going to be a windy day but cold. I might bring extra layers, I might bring extra waterproofs, but I might lower them in my rucksack. So I've got them available for later on, but they're not right at the top, so I'm not having to constantly move them out of the way every time I go into the rucksack. Another thing we need to bear in mind in winter is what has the weather been doing, and this is what we cover in a lot of winter intro courses, so I'm not going to cover it here. But this will, all of these factors, these three factors, weather, what am I going to be doing, and what has the weather been, what are the ground conditions like, really will have an impact on how I pack. So I've laid a load of stuff out here, but one of the biggest differences between summer and winter is which rucksack I'm going to use. This is my summer, I think it's up to a 45 litre. This is my winter rucksack. In fact, this used to be my summer expedition rucksack until I replaced that. And this is a 60 litre, it's an old black ice pod sack. I don't make these anymore. Brilliant, and it reaches, does what it says on the tin. None of these internal zips or other faffy things. It's just a great big sack, and this is perfect for me in winter. So what would I actually be taking with me? Why have I got a bigger rucksack? Well, we've got all the extra equipment, extra clothing, and lots more of it. All of it's heavy duty, and I might be opening my rucksack quite a lot, especially if I'm instructing. I'm reaching in to grab things and demonstrate and so forth. Every time I do that, there might be spin drift, and there's little bits of snow crystal getting inside my rucksack. And over time, that is just going to start seeping in. It's water, isn't it? It's just going to get everything inside there wet. A lot of you tried this. When you pack whatever it is you're doing, a nice day, into your rucksack, it all folds down really, really nicely when you're sat in your living room. When you're trying to do a repack out in the hills, especially if you've been wild camping, for example, it never fits in very nicely, does it? And you're often finding that you know, the amount of volume you're using up in your rucksack massively grows. It's the same in winter. I want that extra space, especially in winter. What I really do not want at all is anything dangling off the outside of my rucksack, with one exception of perhaps earlier in the day of my ice axe. So what is it I pack? Well, whether I'm by myself, with friends, or instructing, pretty much always have, this is a 8 to 10 person group shelter. It's basically a poleless tent, and it can get surprisingly warm inside these and provide a massive amount of shelter. I've got a first aid kit, and this will vary what I have in it depending on what activities I'm doing. When I mean that, I've got a bigger one when I'm going wild camping and I'm going to be slightly more remote. This is just slightly more extended of an ouch pouch, really. I've also got my spares, and it's got a spare head torch in here, it's got spare batteries in here, it's got a little penknife, and it's got bootlaces. Bootlaces are really, really important. If your bootlace goes, it can really be catastrophically awkward to try and walk out when you've got one boot flapping around. I've also got a bit of gaffer tape in here, some compede and various other bits and pieces. Useful odds and sods. I'm not expecting to use these. In fact, I'm really hoping I'm not going to have to use these. So, although they're individually wrapped, because they'll be sat at the bottom of my rucksack, these will be right in the path of any pooling water, or every time my rucksack gets put down on the snow, and after a day or two these are just going to get sopping wet. They keep getting brought into the warmth at the end of the day, and all that snow inside my bag will melt. So I want these protected as much as I possibly can. So I put these into a dry bag. And they'll go right bottom. What else have we got? Safety equipment. So I tend to bring these. These are really useful. It's a snow shovel. If you've ever tried to shift snow using an ice axe, it's really time consuming and hard work. It's the metal one. It's a black diamond. I quite like it. This generally will sit at the bottom of my bag. I'm not really expecting to use it. I will bring this out on winter skills courses, intro courses, just when on longer courses, perhaps when we're looking at emergency shelters and so forth. So these I will bring. What's quite useful if your car gets kind of swamped with snow, you can kind of undig it quite nicely with one of these. I have also got an Avalanche Pro, 3 meters, just under 270 centimeters. I'm not going to talk about much about these, but these are incredibly useful for obvious reasons. Should you witness an avalanche and someone get carried away with one, this could be the difference between saving their life or not. And it's also very useful should you need to dig a shelter, for example. Before you start spending ages digging into a snowbank, you see quite how deep it is before you hit frozen turf. One of these. For these, I'm just stowing lower down these harder vertical things, putting in this side pocket, this back pocket here. That's it. I'm stuffing right into the bottom of the bag. So moving on, I have got I call this my belay jacket. This is a really thick, heavy-duty paramo, and this will fit over pretty much everything else I'm wearing, including all of this. Depending on what I'm doing, I might have 2 of these, or an extra mid-layer and so forth. Each of these is going to be wrapped in its own dry bag, just to be on the safe side of the game. It might not feel wet in winter, it's all frozen water, but that water will start to do what water always does, which is melt. And I just don't really want things getting completely wet. Pretty much everything is going to be individually wrapped. Now you might think that's quite wasteful, but I need to be able to shuffle things around, move things around, and I don't want to open up my entire rucksack when it's blowing a hoolie and a spindrift just getting cold everywhere, because then everything in that dry bag is going to get wet. That's a really quite important tip. So this is wrapped. It's also in a bit of a colour-coded red jacket, warm. So again, depending on my activity, it's got a bobble on this hat, so I wouldn't use this for climbing because I need to get a helmet over that. I've also got some decent winter gloves, and these have got leather palms, so it's just easier to grip. I've also got these, I love these, little hotties. Claims they last for 8 hours, they last longer than that from my experience. And this can make such a difference to your day. If you're getting cold hands, I really don't like getting cold hands. And that makes such a massive difference to me. Generally got an extra stash of these I'll just keep in a bag. You know what, someone I'm with is really starting to struggle, not having a good day. Their hands are getting cold or what have you. I can just say, look, here's, stick some of these in your gloves. It can really make a big difference for someone if they're struggling to learn or to absorb what you're saying, or just really not enjoying the day. Give them some of those. Again, this will get wrapped up in one of my little hat and gloves. Dry bags. And I've got another one. And depending on what I'm doing, if I'm doing an intensive day where I'm going to be shoveling around in the snow quite a lot, I might have a third or a fourth. I can go through quite a few pairs of gloves in winter. I've often at least got 2 hats in my rucksack, and bear in mind when I get to my venue I'll already be wearing my boots, and I'm going to have hat and gloves sat on the passenger seat, or at least close to me by the driver, so I can put them on before I get out of the car, so I'm pretty much ready to go. So these the next things that then go into my rucksack. So my little spare potties can go at the top. Wouldn't be winter without them. Crampons. So I've got Grevol G12s here, and these have been already sized up to my boots so they fit. I've also trimmed the straps. These are my own personal crampons. So I've trimmed the straps so I don't have a massive amount of strap flapping around that I could trip up on. Now, I might need these from the offset. I remember the winter of 2010, I needed these to get out of my back door to the car, and I was living in Durham. But in winter, I like to have these handy. There are days when it's just powder snow, fresh dump of snow. There's not really going to be any ice around. I'll have them, but perhaps they'll be more closer to the bottom of the bag. I'm not really expecting to need them so much. Again, that will depend on what has the weather been doing. Some water. And something that's quite nice in winter, it's a bit hot Ribena, gives you that bit of sugar boost. And I am burning calories just trying to keep warm, so I do like to keep moving in winter, and as much as possible, so whether we're not actually journeying on the mountain, we're at least being active doing something. So I often got a lot of these kind of healthy bars, but also some chocolate as well, and I can keep 1 or 2 in my pockets and have a quick nibble as and when I get the opportunity. So this now, I'll show you, there's still quite a lot of room left in this rucksack. That's very, very useful for me, because as things do get wetter, filled with snow, I've got room to expand, and I can repack quite easily and not have to resort to sticking things on the outside of the bag. Right, I've got my personal medications and a spare large battery pack with cable, and that's wrapped up in several dry bags just to keep that really well protected. Electronics and the cold and the wet don't tend to mix very well together. So I do have one of those battery packs that can charge, I think, about 6 phones. I have got a spare phone, which is wrapped in sandwich bags and so forth, and we'll get in a dry bag. That is essential. I've also got the phone that I'm recording on. Let's we're up there to take pictures, aren't we, or enjoy ourselves to some extent. I've got sunglasses, you never know. When the weather's absolutely minging, ski goggles, it can be incredibly blinding when you've got spindrift blasting in your face. I've got a head torch. Bear in mind, in my little knickknacks, I've got a spare battery and a spare head torch. And this is fully charged each evening. I've also got my ice axe leash, which I can very easily put onto the ice axe or take off. When you buy one from the shops, it'll have a leash on it, and they can be a real nuisance when you're having to constantly change hands, have this leash flapping around. So there are a few times when I do want a leash, but most of the times I don't. So having one of these that I can deploy and put on when I need it is great. So that's more or less what I keep in my rucksack. There are a few extras that I will need from time to time. So intro winter courses, we have got folks swinging ice axes around. and really concentrating on getting to grips with their new ice axes and their tools and having some fun, it's always worth having your helmet. So that also, I've got space to put in here, loads of room. If I'm doing a load of ice axe arrests, demonstrating all the different types, I might be doing this day in, day out, and after a little while it can really mess up your expensive nice salopettes or ski wear or whatever you're using. So I've got some really cheap, just kind of almost, I think of them as seasonal disposable waterproof trousers here. I don't really mind these getting trashed. I buy them with a purpose, so I put these on over the top of my nice gear when I'm ice axe arresting, and if they survive the season, that's great. Last but not least, I've got my ice axe. I will stow this on my rucksack, and there's ways that we do that, and most rucksacks have got their own little system for doing that. This is not a particularly great way to carry your ice axe when you're in the mountains. I might need it at short notice and I want it handy. I don't want to have to be taking my rucksack off to get it. We show you how we stow our ice axes so they're easily retrievable on courses. I won't do it on this video here. Lastly, I've got a walking pole. These are really handy. So yeah, I might have an ice axe, I might occasionally need to put this away, which is fine. However, when I'm walking in, there's lots of different snow types. Having one of these, I don't have two, having one of these just allows me to probe the snow ahead. Is that snow bridge, how secure is or solid is that snow underneath where I'm about to put my feet? What's happening? And it's just quite useful to be able to have. I did say that I do use GPS, well, yeah, but if all else fails, I do know how to use these, and in fact this is my primary means of navigation in winter, especially, well, it is all the time to be fair, but especially in winter. I've got a map and a compass. They are attached to me. So for those folks that are wanting to get more independent in the mountains and do a bit of winter navigation, avalanche planning, don't come with one of these laminated ordnance surveys. It's like trying to fold a corrugated roof. They're massive, and I want a map case that is attached to me, because this map can get blown out of your hands. This is so important to me, I need it attached. So I've just got this clipped inside a pocket. Likewise, I have got my compass and it is attached to me. I've got full range of movement, nothing is around my neck because the winds can be brutal in winter. Nothing is ever around my neck that could come flap around and garrote me. So that's really what I carry in winter.